Everybody, hope you are having a good Easter Sunday and a good time celebrating the resurrection of our Lord. I chose to get sick this particular Easter Sunday, so had to miss church this morning and miss time with family. My wife is currently spending some time with family. I'm stuck at home, but the show must go on. So here is the video for this week. This week you are considering the book of Acts, so we are moving outside of the Gospels, but this book is something that we should consider along with the Gospels, hence it being in this course. You will move outside of the Dictionary of Jesus and the Gospels to Walter Liefeld's Interpreting the Book of Acts this week, and you will be considering arguably the three most important things for understanding any book of the Bible, that being the main themes, the purpose, and the outline. If you can understand those three things about any given book, you will find that you're able to understand what the author is trying to do, how he does it, and therefore to be able to communicate it to those that we're called to minister to. So I hope you will enjoy the reading in that regard, and that it'll be refreshing to you. You'll notice that the discussion posts this week intersect with those ideas. So you'll talk about the Christology of the book of Acts, who Christ is. That intersects with main themes, specifically looking at how Acts treats Christ. What themes do you see about Christ? In other words, who is Christ according to the book of Acts? What is the book of Acts wanting to tell us about Christ? So we are thinking here not in terms of what does the Bible in general say about Christ, but what specifically does Luke have to offer to us about that certainly overlaps with what other authors say, but that is distinct to him as well. Your other discussion post, you will be thinking of Jewish versus Roman leadership, and that really gets at the purpose of the book of Acts, as some consider the purpose of the book of Acts at least. Many think it's that the book of Acts is written as an apologetic to the Jews and Romans for the Christian movement, that it's designed to show on the one hand that yes, this movement of Christianity is about Christ reigning over everything, and yet we see these Christians suffering oftentimes unjustly, and they are not trying to bring Christ's rule with a sword. That's not what Christianity is. So some think that the purpose of the book of Acts falls along those lines. I'm not too convinced, but I think there are a lot of good arguments along those lines. In any case, Jewish and Roman leadership play a prominent part in this book. One thing about the book of Acts is that if you didn't already know this, Luke wrote the book of Acts, and so his themes from the book of Luke actually continue into Acts. So we actually kind of unhelpfully in our Bibles have Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and then we have Acts. But really, the book is Luke-Acts. It's like the Iliad and the Odyssey. It continues the story. Acts begins all that Jesus began to do and teach, and so we see in some sense that Jesus is continuing his work in the book of Acts through the church. So always have Luke's gospel in the back of your mind as you're reading Acts, and I think you'll see many, many things that stand out to you as far as themes that continue and just the way it's written. One of those things that is worth noting here, I think, is that the ascension of Jesus is not mentioned by any other gospel writers. Very interesting. Only Luke does. The ascension, though, is so important to Luke that it ends the book of Luke and it begins the book of Acts. It's as if we've got to recover that ground, and so that repetition itself is saying something literarily. It's Luke's way of stressing the ascension. So be thinking, what is so important about the ascension to the book of Acts? Be thinking about that as you read the book, and as you reflect upon it this week. So I hope you have a good time studying this book. I will recommend here a book that I recommended, I believe, in the video for Luke's Gospel, A Theology of Luke and Acts by Darrell Bock. It's an incredible book, one of the best I've ever read on biblical theology, and so I highly recommend that book. It will be of great value to you in your ministry if you decide to teach these books in any particular setting. And so I hope you enjoy the book, and hope you have a good rest of your Easter Sunday.